Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 23 of a year of change. Today we're going to touch on something where we made a change yesterday to our diet tracking. Something that I feel has probably come up in your head before, just sort of, asking yourself a little bit about it. And that is what we've sort of deemed at this point food changes in our diet. I know I try to keep things hidden a little bit so that each day when you come in it's something new. I don't want to sort of plan too far ahead. But as you've probably noticed by now, we haven't really taken anything away. We've just slowly been adding things. And yesterday was just a matter of tracking stuff, but we've added water. We're going to be adding vegetables and fruit and things like that. But I just sort of wanted to touch on, some of you are probably wondering when we're going to start taking stuff away. And I don't think we really are. Just given how I have this mapped out, I can't see why we would need to. And the reason why is very simple. It's just simply we're trying to change the way that we view food, and putting something down that would just be forbidden, that you can never have this again, doesn't really change our way of thinking so much as just restricts where we're going, what we're doing, what we're eating, things like that. It doesn't change how we're thinking of it, because if you say that you can't have it, just like a kid, you're just going to think about it more and more and more. And there aren't really any foods that I would say that should be on the list that you should never ever have, because it's ridiculous. You can have anything that's out there. It's just that our problem is that we need to have it in moderation. We can't have just junk food or just fried foods, or in my case, just all foods in great quantities. You need to be able to do things in moderation. And I think it's feasible to say that there are people out there that are a normal, average, well, I won't say average because we're average, or a normal weight, that still have their candy bars when they want them, or they'll have a Coke and they won't think about it. So I don't ever want to put anything on a list that says, okay, well, you can't have this anymore, and you can't have that, and you can't have this. As things progress, we are going to start watching our, carbohydrates and protein and sugars and sodium and all that stuff. But that's just a matter of eating properly. It's not a matter of saying, well, we can never, ever, ever have a candy bar again, because it's ridiculous to say that. It sort of implies that if we have that one candy bar, we're just going to lose control and go through and terrorize the neighborhood and eat everything that we can. So this is why I'm doing it this way and sort of steering away from, I guess, things like Overeaters Anonymous. I don't really agree. I'm sure that it has helped some people. I just don't agree with their 12-step program, in that the very first thing is you have to admit that you're powerless against food, which is a ridiculous statement, because it's once again one of those things that we would gladly use to take the responsibility away from ourselves and put it on food. To say, well, it's not my fault that I'm fat. It's the food. I'm helpless. I don't have any control. We all do. We all have control. We just don't exercise it. And you may have weak self-control, but it is there. If someone was to put you in a room with a plate of your favorite food and said, okay, you can have one bite, and then you have to sit there for 2 hours and stare at this food. And at the end of the 2 hours, if you haven't eaten any more, we'll give you $5,000. Everyone would be able to do it. If you're one of those people that is legitimately addicted, I've called this an addiction before, but it's not like heroin. But if you are one of those people that say, no, I've tried that and I lost the $5,000, then this program isn't for you. You do need to go and find real help, because that's not something that you should be toying around with. But for the majority of us, it's one of those things that we say, oh, I can't help myself. Well, we can. We just don't. So, we still need to go to the store, buy the food, bring it home, prepare it, and eat it. Or, for most of us, just go to the store and eat it, because everything's already in little packages. We have chocolate bars and chips and candy and cookies and everything else. But by saying that you're powerless against it, it just takes all the responsibility off you, and so again sets you up for one of those things that if you fail, you can say, well, it's not my fault, I'm powerless against it. So that's why I don't really agree with their 12-step program, let alone the religious aspect of it, which we won't get into because that's going to start fights. There's a lot of it, and as I say, I'm sure it has helped some people, just the way that AA has helped people. It's one of those things that I couldn't in good conscience follow, because I think a lot of it is just ridiculous. I think if you look at it, it is our responsibility the way that we are. We have no one to blame but ourselves, and I've said it before. So the reason why I'm doing it this way is so that we can change that, so that we still have the responsibility, but we don't look at food the same way. We don't see it as an emotional crutch or a way to feel better, to alleviate stress, or to alleviate boredom in some cases. We'll look at it like everyone else does, that it's more of a necessity. You can still enjoy everything, and you can still have your cookies and cakes and things like that once in a while, but just having it every meal, every day, has gotten us into this position. So, as I say, I don't think there's ever going to be a moment when I'm going to say, okay, now this week we're cutting out all sugar, or we're cutting out all fast food, or for those of you out there that think that you can cut out bread and it's going to be a miracle thing, it's not. That's another video altogether. The whole wheat is poison thing is just a crock of shit. So, and it's been proven to be a crock of shit many, many times. We'll get into that later on, because that's another one that's going to sort of spark up stuff. But there's no food that I can think of that you just should never eat. There are certainly going to be ones that you're going to want to avoid as we start tracking more things. If you're getting down to where your target weight is and you're doing really, really well, if you haven't had any sugars, or not any sugar, but like junk food, for example, in 2 or 3 weeks, you're not going to want to go back to that. And that's the goal of this. Not that you're never allowed to have it, just to change the way that we think and how we react to it, so that you're not going to be craving it as much as you are now. And it's fine to have some every now and then, because when your body gives you a craving, it's because you need something out of it. If you have a craving for a steak, you're probably low in iron. If you have a craving for a banana, you're low in potassium. It's things like that. So you're going to have those every now and then, and it's fine to indulge in them once in a while. I just need us to get to a point, well, I intend for us to get to a point where we aren't dictated by it, and where we just start saying, well, I have a craving for chocolate, so I'm going to eat an entire box of chocolates. Because that's what a lot of us have been doing. So, just like alcohol, it's fine to have a drink every now and then. You don't have to get drunk when you're having a drink. And for those that have gone into AA that it's helped, fine. But it's, again, they still need to go to a location and purchase the alcohol and drink it. Same thing with us and food. We have to go somewhere, buy it, and then eat it. So it's just, we need to take control of that, of ourselves, and be able to say, I can have this and this and this and this, but I just don't need to eat it all the time. So I'm not going to be canceling. I'm not going to be forbidding any food during this year-long progress. As we go through this, I understand there are going to be some foods that are simply going to fall by the wayside because we aren't going to be eating them anymore. I do that a lot with some of the stuff now. I very rarely have cookies and cake and things like that in my house anymore. As I said before, a lot of my stuff is salty. So I've tried to steer away from I can't talk at all today. Try to steer away from things like chips and cheesies and stuff like that. So I haven't purchased any in a very, very long time. Hence the large pickle thing, which just destroyed everything for my sodium levels. But I don't want you to worry that 6 months down the road that we're going to cut something out and say, okay, no more cheese. And then, because again, it doesn't matter how far you progress, if you're getting to that point where you're now, I can't have that, then it's just going to cause another barrier, and it's going to bring us back to where we are now, because that's what diets generally do. They just say, you can't have this and you can't have that. I can only have half a grapefruit for breakfast every day. Grapefruit, to me, tastes like vomit, which is why I don't eat them. So, if for someone to say you can only have this one thing would be horrible. But I just sort of wanted to touch on that subject because I figure, as things progress, we are going to be adding new things to our diet, and in a way, it is sort of replacing things. Now that we're tracking condiments, I have to be very, very careful about mayonnaise and margarine and olive oil and stuff like that I cook with all the time, and try to use things that, not necessarily cook in different ways, but just use less of it, just enough so that it's not dry and something that's still palatable. So it's not that it's being cut out, but I just need to watch it a little bit more. And as things progress throughout the next few weeks, you're going to notice that because we're you're at some stage you need to have your fruit and vegetables every day. Then you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to need to forego, instead of having 3 cookies, I'll have 2 cookies. Because that will give me enough that I can still have the vegetables and I won't go over my points or my calories or however you want to look at them. So they will gradually replace the junk food and the greasy food and, in my case, salty foods and foods that I shouldn't be eating and things like that, starches and carbohydrates, stuff like that. But it's just going to be sort of a natural, I don't want to say organic because that sounds really hippie-ish. But it's going to be a very natural progression that you're going to sort of push aside the things that are technically classified as junk food or bad for you in favor of these other things so that you can still meet your target every day and you're still following along with the program. And in general, you're going to find that you're just going to be eating healthier, you're going to feel better, and you're going to just overall look better and mentally and physically and emotionally feel better as well. And this isn't this isn't a way of me saying, oh, if you eat fruits and vegetables, then it changes your body chemistry and you're happy all the time. You won't be, but it's not going to be as difficult as saying, okay, well, I have to cut out sugar for a month because you would just go insane. It's just going to be something that is going to naturally happen as you go on, that you're going to just eat less and less of those and more of things that are going to be good for you. Same thing with the dates and the pickles and things like that it still counts as a fruit and a vegetable. You still get your sugar, you still get your salt. It's not going to be readily available as just quick, cheap junk food with empty calories. So that's it. I'm repeating myself once again. You figure that after 3 or 4 weeks of this, I would have a nice flow and I would stop repeating myself, but no, apparently not. And no cat fur falling off my face onto my clothes or anything else, so that's better too. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.